Right, I would like to formally welcome all of you to Chippenham Town Council's full council meeting. I see there's a few more people than usual. Please may I remind you that this is a public meeting that's being streamed to YouTube and will be available here in the public domain for a period of 6 months. Can I remind all councillors to use their microphones when speaking and to raise their hand clearly and keep it raised when voting. Please ensure you're respectful of others in attendance at this meeting. We have received no written public questions in advance of the meeting. Can officers please confirm if there are any members of the public present who wish to speak?
There are none, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, if there are, start meeting. Here we go. Right, so item 1, apologies for absence. Can officers confirm if we received any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Claire Cape, due to work commitments. Councillor Gemma Grimes, due to being on holiday. Councillor Catherine McDermott, due to family commitments. Councillor Michael Owen, due to being on holiday. And Councillor Eric Wakeman, due to being unwell. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. All members of the Town Council are reminded to declare any pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests where they may have in any business of the Council, its committees or subcommittees, in accordance with the latest approved Code of Conduct. Members are reminded to declare any dispensation granted in relation to any relevant matter. Are there any declarations of interest? I see no hands raised, so I will continue. Item 3, minutes, so on pages 7 to 16 in your pack, and this is to approve a correct record to sign the draft minutes of the council meeting held on Wednesday the 13th of May 2026. Require a proposer and a seconder. Do I have a proposer? I see Councillor Finlay and a seconder, Councillor McIntosh. Now move to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Okay. Moving on to item 4, Mayor's announcements. There are no major announcements from the Mayor. On item 2, to receive any list of engagement undertaken by the Mayor and Deputy Mayor since the last council meeting held on Wednesday the 13th. There's a list of engagements attached for information. I would like to say, though, that a big congratulations to the organisers of the Folk Festival, and I know a lot of councillors got involved in that, so congrats to them as well for getting involved, and for those who attended, and also for any councillors who've attended or get involved in the Pride Festival we had last weekend. It was incredibly well attended, and I think a credit to this town, so congratulations to all people there. Item 5, a Youth Council update, to receive a verbal update from some members of the Youth Council on their work and future plans. I will hand over the chair to the chair of the Youth Council.
Good evening, councillors. Thank you so much for having us at your meeting. We are the Chippenham Youth Council.
This year, the Youth Council has welcomed 6 new members. This has helped to bring new ideas and perspectives to our discussions and projects. We've also had 3 members resign during this year, which just reflects natural movements as young people get new commitments. But overall, we've got a strong and active group that continues to represent the voices of young people in Chippenham.
So over the last year, we received 20 items for communication from various committees. And as a youth council, we really appreciate these updates as they allow us to be a bit more involved directly and to stay in the know about a lot of the decisions that impact us as young people of Chippenham. Some of the updates we most enjoyed receiving included the ones on urban planning and tree planting within the use of parks and open spaces policy, as we all felt that these were issues that affect us on a day-to-day basis. Going forward, we'd love to hear about any further urban planning schemes or any wildlife and ecological projects that are happening, as well as any updates on school-related issues, as these obviously have a big impact on us as young people. Thank you.
We were also able to greet a very important nurse into our meeting in January. We welcomed in a mental health nurse who talked to us about mental health and discussions in school and how we could change those. Of course, we know mental health is a very big topic in the youth today. So getting to know about how they should approach the youth and what would be best going forward is what we talked about in our meetings.
A crucial part of what we do as a youth council is finding out what young people actually want in town. After all, what's the point of us if we don't know what they want? With this in mind, when we were invited to run a stall at Teen Takeover, we jumped at the opportunity, and the question we asked young people was, what topics would you like the youth council to address? We got 62 responses, which I think is pretty good considering how busy people are in town. And this information has and will continue to be crucial in deciding what issues we focus on.
As well as this, the survey we ran a survey, and it was fun and engaging scavenger hunt around Chippenham Town Centre. This included landmarks of Chippenham, such as Monkton Park, blue plaques, and historical buildings that make Chippenham great. Those who completed the scavenger hunt were entered into a raffle for the chance to win one of 2 great prizes.
Back in November 2025, the Vice Chair and myself, we attended the church service and the town council's ceremony. We laid a wreath for those who had fallen and we read out their names.
On the week commencing on the 9th of March, we decided to promote Your Vote Week in the UK. That consisted of making 2 Instagram reels to try and reach the youth of Wiltshire. As we understand, not many will try to look at newspapers or posters in the town centre. So we thought we'd be able to reach them electronically. Within this, we highlighted the importance of voting, democracy, and the local government, as we're aware that the youth demographic is the youngest in terms of proportion of voters, and we aim to increase this in the coming years.
So the aim of the project was to help young people understand how their political decisions affect their lives and the lives of others, and to encourage them to become active citizens in the future. As youth councillors, we think this is really important to promote youth engagement in politics.
The Youth Town Council were invited to have a stall where we put together a bake sale, the proceeds of which were donated to the Wiltshire Wildlife Trust to support local wildlife.
We raised £138.76 for the Wiltshire Wildlife Trust from the bake sale. We gave out 115 packets of wildflower and sunflower seeds to promote growing plants and helping nature.
The power of the Youth Charter and the I Will movement were the power of the Youth Charter and the I Will movement were in the early stages of planning an event, and we are looking forward to what the Youth Town Council and Chippenham Town Council will create for this. We are also working on collaborating with another nearby youth council.
I personally thank the Youth Council for coming along today and giving us an update on all their fantastic work. I'd especially like to call out the work you're doing on encouraging democracy and encouraging young people to get involved, like you've done yourselves. I know it's a lot of commitment of time, and it's greatly appreciated. Also, your work on environmental issues has been noted, and thank you for the cake sale and providing a gluten-free cake for myself. So that was very well appreciated. I think you do fantastic work, and thank you for taking time out to come here. And I would entreat councillors to give them all a huge round of applause. Thank you. I mean, I'd hate to be the person who have to follow that youth report. So on to the police report. To receive an update from the Wiltshire Police, Police Representative Sergeant Jamie Ball. Be that, Jamie.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Anybody that was downstairs with me about 25 minutes ago will have heard me speaking with these wonderful people to the side of me. And I did say to them that this time last year, I remember presenting after the Youth Council and felt quite embarrassed because my report meant absolutely nothing up to the report that they'd given. So congratulations to all of you. I did ask you to tone it down a little bit, but you were equally as good as last year. So thank you. It's one hell of an act to follow. Firstly, Mr. Mayor and councillors, good evening. Congratulations to you. I really look forward to working with you for the next year, and equally to Councillor McDaird for the last year of her tenure. It's been fantastic working with her, and I think I'm now going to be working with my fourth mayor. So thank you very much. It's testament to the room tonight as well. Everybody here, there's something important-ish going on for some of us at 9 o'clock this evening. So what a great turnout for everybody. Councillor Scott nodding your head in the corner there. And I like the badge that you've got on your shirt as well. Some updates for you this evening, if I may. First and foremost, probably the most important from a neighbourhood policing point of view is congratulations to Pete Foster, Inspector Pete Foster, who in the past 4 or 5 weeks has departed the neighbourhood policing team in Chippenham to pastures new, having been promoted to the temporary Chief Inspector role for County in Wiltshire. I think it's testament to him, the work that he's done over the past 3-4 years whilst in Chippenham, that he was recognised for that role of temporary Chief Inspector. And I think it's fair to say that none of us expect him to return to the neighbourhood policing team in that temporary role, hopefully to be made permanent in the coming future. It leads me nicely on to Inspector Simon Garrett, who I'm very honoured to say will be taking up the role of the neighbourhood policing inspector for Chippenham, Cowan and Corsham in the next week. Simon may have met some of you in the past. He was previously a response sergeant in Chippenham prior to promotion 5 or 6 years ago, but he's got over 25 years experience in policing. He started his career in Thames Valley, worked in Reading and across teams in Thames Valley prior to transfer into Wiltshire in 2004. He is a genuinely lovely gentleman, a very, very well respected inspector. Once again, testament to him is the fact that 2 of his sergeants rang me up last week to moan at me that we were pinching their inspector. So I'm sure over the coming months he will make himself known and welcome to everybody. And I will try and bring him along to our next town council meeting. 2 other staff changes I'd just like to update on this evening, if I may. Firstly, PCSO Barbara Young. It would be amiss of me. I cannot go without mentioning Barbara's commitment and dedication to her role as a PCSO over the past 24 years. She retired 2 weeks ago. Thankfully for us, she's returned as a flexible hours inquiry officer in Melksham, but very sadly, we've lost her as a PCSO in our town. She initially joined Wiltshire Police in 1998 as a traffic warden back in the day. But when the traffic warden role was disbanded within policing, she took up the role of a community support officer in 2004. And I think Barbara absolutely embedded herself in our town over that period of time. She spent the last 22 years as our PCSO. I don't think there are many that she's walked up the high street and don't recognise her and don't stop to speak to her. And she's been the absolute eyes and ears of this town. So from my point of view personally, from the team's point of view, just a massive congratulations to Barbara on a fantastic career as a community support officer, and we already miss her greatly. However, with one departure comes another opportunity for somebody to come and shine, and I've brought with me this evening Jasmine Thompson, who has recently taken up the role of a PCSO within Chippenham. It's about week 6 or week 7 of tutorship, am I right? Week 7 of tutorship. She's currently being tutored by Mark Cook over in Cowan. I'm not letting him keep her, and she will start working in Chippenham over the next month or so as the PCSO or one of the PCSOs for the town of Chippenham. So a massive welcome to you from a personal level from me, but also to introduce you to those that we serve. With the exception of the staff changes, I just want to take you through a few figures. The crime and incident breakdown looks pretty consistent this year to last year. And I'm sad that Councillor Cape isn't in this evening because I usually update her for the hate crime element of the town. I think that's probably the most encouraging statistic that I've seen for a significant period of time. And the year to date, 1st of January to the 31st of May, we've seen a 47.7% reduction in hate crimes recorded across our town. I'd usually ask the question, as I've said to you on many times before, well, if we've got that big a reduction, is there a reason are people not reporting? But actually every other crime and every other incident is pretty consistent with every other year. And it's so encouraging to see that we've gone from 21 recorded crimes this time last year to 11 this time this year. And once again, testament to the work of everybody across all the organisations. Since we've last met, we've been in attendance of several of the community events. And Mr. Mayor, I know you mentioned it very briefly just now, the Folk Festival and the Chippenham Pride event. Just from me personally, if next year the Folk Festival could lie on the weekend that isn't the hottest weekend of the year, it'd be very much appreciated. And I say that on behalf of my team, really, as opposed to myself. But it was an absolutely fantastic event, as always, and really well respected. And I think superb numbers of people attending. And likewise for Pride over the weekend, I think once again, testament of our town, just how well received our events are and how diverse we are as a community in respecting these events. My final update this evening is just in relation to since we've last met, and you'll see in your packs this evening, I've mentioned OPSEPTA, which ran between the 18th and the 24th of May. And OPSEPTA essentially is the National Policing Initiative that tackles knife crime across England and Wales. It's coordinated twice a year in conjunction with all of our police forces in the UK, as well as British Transport Police and Border Agency, buy-in from the schools and community organisations. And the whole purpose of OPSEPTA is to promote and disrupt and reduce knife crime across our communities. We've already seen this year an absolutely devastating incident in our town involving knife crime. And last time I attended, we spoke about how safe this town is in general and how rare it is in our town. But the operation from the 18th to the 24th of May covered a broad range of areas. Firstly, on the 19th, we launched the Community Bleed Partnership. We were joined by HeartSafe UK, NHS England, and South West Ambulance Service, as well as the Owen Dunn Foundation up in Swindon, and became the first town to lead and roll out the Community Bleed Partnership. I did a piece on local radio yesterday morning, and one thing I was very keen to stress and emphasize is that I don't want this to cause or raise community tensions. I've spoken about just how safe we are as a community in general, and actually those bleed kits are an absolutely crucial and essential piece of kit across our towns. But there's a key statistic in that information as well, and that statistic is on 60% of the occasions these community bleed kits are actually needed for road traffic collisions. And I think that's really key for us to remember, that those bleed kits are there not just for weapon injuries, but for a broad range of injuries and catastrophic bleeds. And anything that we can do within the community to make it safer is really well welcomed. So it was really encouraging that Chippenham was the rollout for those community bleed kits. We also went out into the community in areas whereby we believe that youngsters may well have secreted weapons and conducted knife sweeps. I'm really pleased to say that nothing was found of significance in those knife sweeps. And most encouragingly, I remember standing here in front of everybody around about a year ago and talking about our test purchase operation, where we sent some of our young cadets into stores in and around Chippenham to try and purchase illegal or knives that were illegal to purchase for under 24s. On that occasion, it was around about a 50-50 split to those retail premises that served these young people. But this year, a test purchase operation was conducted during the week, and every store in Chippenham successfully identified the age of the youngsters, challenged those looking to buy knives and weapons, and refused sales. And in one case, one person was actually on the phone before one of my officers could go in and tell them it was actually us conducting the operation. So it was a really, really encouraging week. From my point of view, that's all I really have to update you on this evening. I think we're in for an extremely challenging and busy period with the summer months, and hopefully the sun shines for long periods of that time. And if there's any questions from anybody in the room tonight, I please welcome.
So thank you, Sergeant Jamie Ball, for attending. And can we have any questions from councillors? Yes, Councillor Nunoff.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, as ever, wonderfully informative. Just one question, looking at the crime by type breakdown.
Yes.
We seem to have a fairly substantial increase in violence.
Yes.
Is that down to a specific incident?
It is, yeah.
Incidents?
It is, yeah. So what we've typically found is that crime has, in certain types of crime, have been underreported for crime recording standards. And my example is if we attended a domestic dispute, for example, there'd be a verbal altercation, and on many of the occasions it would be recorded as a verbal altercation, no offences. But actually that verbal altercation is enough to cause fear of immediate violence for somebody, and we should be recording those crimes as a common assault effectively. So what we've tried to do, and the HMIC FRS, when the original inspection came into force, one of those areas for development was actually we need to be better at recording crime and identifying certain areas of crime. And you'll see that in our statistics over the past probably 18 months, we've seen an increase in that violence against the person. But actually, I think it's probably where we're starting to identify and record it better than we have previously.
Any more questions from councillors? Not seeing any hands. In that case, thank you again, Sergeant Ball. And you can go and watch the match now.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take you up on that one. Thank you.
Thank you. So, councillors, to note that through police report, that's item 6. Moving on now to item 7, which is the committee minutes. I invite all councillors to raise any queries or questions to the work being undertaken by committees, purely for information only, to receive the following. So this is Planning, Environment and Transport Committee. The minutes of the meetings held on the 23rd of April, 7th of May, 28th of May 2026, previously circulated. I hand over to Councillor Claire Robinson to present the minutes from the Planning, Environment and Transport Committee.
I present the minutes of the Planning, Environment and Transport Committee meetings held on the 23rd of April, 7th of May and the 28th of May, with all matters resolved.
Thank you. Now moving on to the Human Resources Committee. I hand over to Councillor Stephanie to present the minutes from the Human Resources Committee of the 4th of June this year.
Thank you. I'm proud to present the minutes of the HR committee meeting on the 4th of June. Unfortunately, all matters were resolved except one. It needs to be reconsidered at next committee meeting to ensure that all panel members are members of the HR committee.
Thank you very much. Moving on now to item 8, forum notes. To receive the notes from the Community Environmental Forum held on the 9th of April. Information only, copies attached. Item 9, Youth Council minutes. This is pages 87 to 94 in your packs. To receive the minutes of the Youth Council meetings held on the 14th of April and 12th of May. Again, for information only, copies attached. And now on to consider the following items. So item 10 is the option to adopt a BT payphone kiosk on New Road. Again, pages 99 to 102. It's to receive a report from the Head of Planning for councillors to consider whether the Town Council should adopt a BT payphone kiosk located on New Road under BT's Adopt a Chaos scheme. You have information there. I will hand over to Andy to bring in the report. So there you are. Sorry, all's over there. So.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report is to consider whether the Town Council should adopt the BT payphone kiosk located on New Road under BT's Adopt a Kiosk scheme. BT are proposing to remove the kiosk due to declining usage. The Adopt a Kiosk scheme, through which local authorities, parish councils, town councils and registered charities may acquire certain telephone kiosks for a nominal fee of £1. Once adopted, the telephone equipment is removed and ownership of the kiosk transfers to the adopting organisation. More than 6,000 kiosks across the UK have been adopted by local communities and repurposed for a variety of uses. BT continues to provide electricity for kiosk lighting where an existing supply remains in place. The kiosk at New Road is likely to be a KX100 type introduced by BT during the late 1980s and 1990s, and the images of it and location are shown in Appendix A of the report. The Town Council were notified by Wiltshire Council of BT's intention to decommission the kiosk based on its limited use. Wiltshire Council have requested submission of any representations and or expressions of interest for adoption by the 18th of June. The matter was brought to the Planning, Environment and Transport Committee meeting of the 28th of May, where councillors raised the potential of adopting the kiosk, but agreed, given the ownership and maintenance implications, this was not a decision the committee could make, hence bringing the decision on whether to adopt the kiosk or not to this full council meeting. In the report, there are a number of advantages and disadvantages set out of adopting the kiosk, and I'll just run through those. So some of the advantages are it could be repurposed as a community asset. Current BT guidance indicates that some KX100 kiosks offered for adoption may be suitable primarily for defibrillator installations rather than the broader range of alternative uses commonly associated with traditional red kiosks. Other advantages include it could be used for public art subject to confirmation. There would be a low acquisition cost, so the capital cost of acquisition would be £1. There would be environmental benefits of repurposing an existing structure and reusing it rather than removing and disposing of it. There may be some heritage value in retaining the kiosk, which would be a recognisable item of street furniture that reflects the history of public telecommunications in the UK. Some disadvantages of adopting the kiosk. So there would be an ongoing maintenance liability following adoption, responsibility for maintenance, cleaning, repairs, insurance and future refurbishment would rest with the Town Council. There would be limited heritage value compared with traditional red kiosks. There would be a risk of vandalism and antisocial behaviour. There would be an opportunity cost. There would be limited community use if no clear purpose is identified. And some may argue there may be potential visual impact. There are also some advantages and disadvantages of declining to adopt the kiosk, therefore resulting in its likely removal by BT. The advantages include improved highway accessibility in public realm. So the removal of the kiosk would reduce street clutter and increase available footway space, noting its location adjacent to an existing pedestrian crossing. This may improve pedestrian movement and accessibility, particularly for wheelchair users, people with mobility impairments, parents with pushchairs, and those with visual impairments. Other advantages would be in terms of the conservation area and visual benefits. So the removal could have a positive impact on this by reducing visual clutter and simplifying the street scene. And then a couple of disadvantages would be the missed opportunity to repurpose the facility as a community asset, and also the carbon emissions. So albeit fairly insignificant, these would be released as a result of the demolition of the kiosk, removal of materials and making good of the highway. The financial equalities and climate and ecological implications are all set out further in the report. And so I'll hand back to the chair to read out the recommendation. Happy to take any questions also. Thank you.
So just so we're clear on what the recommendations are, you can all read them in your pack. Whether we adopt the BT payphone kiosk, and in the event we do, we then delegate the authority of the chief executive to complete the agreement and then develop proposals for the kiosk use. Tonight is not about what we can do with the kiosk. That will be for a later date, just to say this is purely on adoption or not. I'll now open the floor if there are any questions for Andy from Council. Yes, Councillor Scott, Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for presenting the paper. It initially jumped out at me as being a good opportunity, but these things often do, particularly for such a small amount of money. But when I sort of step back and look at it from a practical perspective, I feel the time frame, which I believe is we have to purchase it within, I think it's a date in June, isn't it? If we're going to make the pound purchase, there's a lack for me of substance to what those costs will be if we do go down that route in terms of the maintenance, the insurance and the like. Equally, what the cost would be if we decide beyond purchase that actually we're going to get rid of it because it wasn't such a good idea, as to what that cost for demolition then is for us. So I think it's a slightly challenging decision to make without knowing what those figures are, but I appreciate that the time frames being as short as they are.
Thank you. Councillor Beasley.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for the report, Andy. I did just want to speak briefly to say that the what is it called, the KX100 phone box, it doesn't really get the spotlight that the classic red phone box does, but I must say I do think it's very beautiful in its own way. It's got quite an elegant design, and as was mentioned in the report, it is part of our telecoms heritage. Now, today, this might not seem like something particularly special to us, but there are many things dotted around the town, like old bollards and railings and fountains and things from the Victorian era that were quite basic commodities back in the day, but would have just been removed over time. And this is a way of protecting part of the heritage of the town through something that just seems very normal today, but in 100 years will seem very unusual. And by adding another asset to it, we regenerate it, give it another lease of life through something that can add something to the community for quite a small cost. So I'm very supportive of this. I think it's a nice idea, and I think it'll be well received by the people of the town, not least of all those up by Uni Road and New Road and that area. Thank you.
I saw Councillor Massey and then Councillor North.
Had this kiosk been one of the vintage red types of phone boxes, I would have been in favour of that. But this piece of glass on the high street, I'm not in favour of keeping it. I would rather see it going.
Councillor North.
Thank you. I think given that there is not a need or a use that jumps out at us, if we had a real need for this display unit, for lack of a better word, then we would know about it. We don't. I therefore am not supportive of this because I believe we're just making more work for ourselves when we don't need to. Thank you.
Councillor Allen.
Thank you. I support Councillor Nonhoff's view. I think it will incur a great deal of expense. It's actually on a path that's known to have vandalism and traffic of certain individuals that like to cause trouble, and that would be the perfect place for them to do so. So I think we should not do this.
Councillor Cousins.
Thank you. I'd like to concur with what Councillor Beasley said. I think this is a classic piece of modernist architecture, which are now becoming quite rare. We are not quite down to the levels of the red phone boxes, but not actually far off. And Chippenham, unfortunately, has, amongst some residents, a bit of a history of demolishing classic buildings. And I would say that this is one of our classic buildings which should be treasured and looked after, because without saving our important buildings now, in 20, 30, 40 years' time, people will look back and say, well, what were these buildings like of 70, 80 years ago that no longer exist? And to follow up from what Councillor Allen said, about vandalism. I'm not aware of any vandalism happening on that particular phone box at the current time. So I wonder whether there should be vandalism in the future, just because the council take that over. Thank you.
Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Chair. I just think the positioning of this phone box is just in the worst place going, because it's, you know, you've got your wheelchair users, you've got your push chairs, you've got people running around, sort of like going around to cross the road, and it's just going to be a danger to the public.
So Councillor Puntis, then Councillor Scragg.
Just a quick comment. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Councillor Scragg.
I would just say that I think it's located in a position where an entry point, a major entry point into the town, and I think there's quite a lot of potential for various uses of it to perhaps portray aspects of the town. I think I am in favour of it being retained and acquiring it myself. I think there's quite a lot of potential, and I do agree that it is a interesting example of a telephone kiosk that is probably probably quite rare, and it will be of interest to those interested in that sort of design of the 1980s.
Oh, yes, Councillor.
Thank you. It mentions one of the disadvantages being the carbon emissions from its removal, but hopefully its recycling would offset that. I'm in favour of getting rid of it. Thank you.
Yep, Councillor Dawson.
If we decide to keep it, can we ask BT to leave the phone? Because my kids are fascinated as to what a phone is, so they play in it when we come to town.
Thank you. I think that's one for Chippenham Museum. Councillor Baisley.
Thank you, Chair. So I was actually surprised to have opposition to this. I thought everyone would be quite excited with the opportunity to do something new for this area. Because if you speak with people who run the independent businesses outside the town, they're always excited to have new features put into that area, like we've done along Union Road, or the flower baskets that have been hung up. So this might be a good opportunity to consult them and see if they had any good ideas that could help rejuvenate this part of the town and attract more people up to it, because they've been desperate for many years for ways to bring people up to the top of the town. I know this won't bring thousands of people up to come look at a new phone box, but it's something we could do to enhance the area. So I think that's another point worth mentioning.
I'm going to bring this debate to a close now, and I'm looking for a proposer for a motion either to keep or remove, just a proposer. So Councillor Baisley.
I'd like to propose that we adopt the phone box.
Have a seconder? Councillor Cousins. Okay, so the motion for us is that we adopt the phone box. I'm taking this as part one on your list of recommendations. So I'm going to ask for a vote in favour and a vote against. So a vote in favour of adopting the phone box. Recorded. Okay. And can I see all those against, please? Okay, so the againsts have it, the nays have it. So we will not be adopting, so there's no point moving on to item 2 as to delegating authority. Oh, sorry, were there any abstentions from that? Oh, sorry, abstentions, about 3 abstentions. Still the nays have it, so 9 against 7-4. Right. Okay, thank you for that. I'll now move on to item 11, the annual report. This is pages 103 to 120 in your packs. That's to receive and consider a report from the Director of Corporate Services and Improvement regarding approval and publication of the annual report, which you have a copy. I'm going to hand over to Helen Bywater. Helen.
Thank you. So this annual report summarises the key achievements of the council and each of the committees in the previous year. The draft report can be found at Appendix A. We produced this report just as best practice to report on everything that we've achieved, and also as a way of marketing and communicating the work we do to the Chippenham community. If it's agreed for adoption, the report will be published on the council website electronically, and then also printed copies will be available in the town hall, and we will make sure to share it with all our partners and stakeholders. Thank you.
Only questions or comments from councillors? Not seeing any hands up in the room. So I'm going to move to propose that we take the recommendation of adopting and approving the publication. I'll propose it. Do I have a seconder? It's Councillor Scott. There you go. Seconder. Move to the vote. All those in favour? All against? Any abstentions? No. Carry. We're unanimous. Lovely. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 12, end of year accounts for 25-26, pages 121 to 156 in your packs, to receive and consider a report from the Director of Finance and the responsible financial officer, the RFO, regarding the end of year processes and financial information, as well as our AGAR, which is our annual governance and accountability return, as recommended in the Strategy Resources Committee at its meeting of the 3rd of June 2026. You have copies attached, and I'll hand over to Julian.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is that following the recommendation from the Strategy and Resources Committee on the 3rd of June, full council is asked to approve the annual governance accountability return, known as the AGAR, and to adopt the council's unaudited financial statements. The AGAR, which is Appendix A, is a statutory requirement and forms part of the council's annual audit process. Full council is required to approve both the annual governance statement, which confirms the appropriate systems of governance and internal controls are in place, and the accounting statements, which presents the council's financial position for the year. The council's internal auditors, Auditing Solution, completed their review during the year and concluded that in all significant respects, the council's controls objectives were being achieved to a standard adequate to meet the needs of the authority. Following approval by full council, the AGAR will be submitted to our external auditors, PKF Littlejohn, for their limited assurance review. The statutory public inspection period will commence on the 18th of June and will run for 30 working days, allowing electors to inspect the accounts and related records. From a financial perspective, the council has ended its income and expenditure year in a strong, stable position. The revenue budget outturn produced a surplus of 3,484. Our general reserves stand at just over 800,000, which is just under our 25% of the annual precept and remains in line with council policy. In addition, capital earmarked reserves totaled just over 2.5 million, providing significant resources for future projects and commitments. The key financial highlights from the financial statements are: our total income from the year was just over 5.9 million. Our total expenditure amounted to 5.2 million. The council achieved an operating surplus of 760,000 before transfers, reserves and statutory accounting adjustments. During the year, just over 800,000 was transferred into earmarked reserves to support future capital projects, asset replacement programmes and known commitments. After these planned transfers, the general fund balance was just over 1 million. This is the 803,000 reported on the AGAR, plus the 200,000 CCLA fund, which is reported as an expenditure in the AGAR accounts, but is reflected as a cash reserve within our financial statements. Overall, this reflects the council's deliberate use of reserves and supports approved projects and priorities. Turning to the balance sheet position, the council remains in a strong financial position with a total net assets of just over 7.2 million. Our cash balances increased significantly during the year from 2.5 million to 3.2 million, providing strong liquidity and resilience. Earmarked reserves increased from 1.7 million to 2.5 million, largely due to allocations for future capital investment, community infrastructure levy projects, asset maintenance and other strategic priorities. Outstanding borrowing reduced from 347,000 to 308,000 as the council continued to repay its Public Works Loan Board debt. Looking at our investment and treasury management, our investment income increased to just over 108,000, reflecting the benefits of active treasury management and higher interest rates. The year-end position demonstrates that the council remains financially resilient. Cash balances and reserves have increased. Borrowing continues to reduce through planned repayments, and earmark reserves have been strengthened to support future capital projects, asset replacement programmes and other strategic commitments. At the same time, the council has maintained investment in frontline services, community facilities and local infrastructure. Thank you, Chair. I'll pass back to the Chair for the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on, are there any comments or questions from councillors? Nothing. Can't see any hands. No. Oh, yes, Councillor Prentice.
Just in the absence of the chair of the Strategy and Resources Committee and as the vice chair, he's not here tonight. It was discussed at some length in the Strategy and Resources Committee, and we approved it to go forward to full council for approval with no real amendments.
Thank you for that insight. Thank you. No more questions, hands. Right, so I'm going to take 9.1 and 9.2 as one vote. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Puntis, seconder, Councillor McIntosh. So I take this to the vote. Can I see all those in favour? And all those against? Oh. Apologies, we have to do that separately. Regulations, separately AGAR. So we can do 9.1 as one and 9.2 as one. So we're voting on 9.1. All those in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. All, and now on to any against for that one? No. Any abstentions? No. Moving on to 9.2. All those in favour? Yep. All in favour. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Oh. We have the same proposal. I'll propose them second. Oh. We're okay? Yeah, thank you. Lovely. Moving on to item 13. Yes, councillor motion to consider a motion from Councillor James Scott regarding a proposed addition to section 3 of standing orders relating to the chair. Copies attached. You can see the motion in front of you. I won't read the whole thing out, but instead I'll pass over to Councillor Scott to present it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, hopefully the motion reads in a fairly straightforward manner. In essence, what I'm seeking to address here is circumstances in which we have contested positions, be that for chair of committee or for representative on outside committees, to demonstrate that we are nominating individuals of the council based on what they believe they will bring to the role to best effect, rather than what in essence is purely just knowing their name and which party they represent. So the motion and the amendment to the standing order would look to add an offer, but I guess not an expectation, that any candidates would take up to a minute just to explain to other councillors present why they would like to undertake the role, in order that we can all vote in a more informed manner.
Then before I go on to take questions on that, do I have a seconder? I see Councillor Maisley. Yes. Okay. So we have a seconder for that. Now I'll take comments and questions from councillors. Councillor Puntis.
Yeah, I think it's a very sensible suggestion and fully support it.
Any other councillors? Yes, Councillor Nonoff.
I'm a little concerned about it introducing a second layer of campaigning and potential town crier behaviour into the chamber. So I'm really on the fence on this one. Thank you.
Councillor Maisley.
Thank you, Chair. I think de facto as a rule, some people already do this. There's an opportunity to speak about why you want to take on the role. I know we do this beforehand. Occasionally I've seen it at meetings. I think this is just a sensible way to have this in the standing order, so we know, especially for new councillors, that you are allowed to do it. So rather than just learning the etiquette, people know from the start, they have a brief opportunity to introduce themselves, why they want to take the role on. I think it's a sensible addition just for that reason.
So there has been a lot of work with Councillor Scott and Democratic Service on this to come up with an acceptable form of words for standing orders. So thank you, Heather, for working on that. Any more questions, comments? debates? No, in that case, then I will be minded to move to the vote. So can I see all those in favour of this amendment, please? Thank you very much. All those against? Oh, you didn't, sorry. Sorry. I'm moving too quickly. Put your hands down. So can we have all those in favour, please, and keep your hands up? Yep. Okay, councillors. All those against? Thank you very much. All those abstaining? That motion is carried. Congratulations, councillor. Moving on to item 14, councillors' feedback. We have 3 categories of feedback for town councillors on significant work, town councillors appointed to outside bodies, and for Wiltshire councillors on significant work. So moving on to item 1, let's receive feedback from town councillors on significant work they've been involved in ward work. Do I have any councillors with hands up? Yes, Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, I would just like to report back really that myself and Councillor McIntosh have both been busy working on supporting the Chippenham Carnival, which hopefully all of you are aware is happening. If you haven't, we haven't done our job right. And yes, I believe we both look forward to delivering a successful event for the town in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. Well, I hope you have a success and hope it's a credit to the town. So thank you for your hard work on that. Anyone else on ward work? No. Moving on to item 2, receive feedback from town councillors nominated by the council to outside bodies on any significant work they've been involved in. Yes, Councillor Scragg.
Chairman, yes, I represent this town council on the Wiltshire Association of Local Councils Executive Committee, and I've got nothing really specific to report, but I'd just remind councillors that our membership of WALC entitles us, and we do subscribe some of the funds to the National Association of Local Councils, and the National Association represents our local government sector nationally. And I would just mention that the chief executive of NALC expressed his disappointment and the disappointment of NALC that the King's speech made no reference to our sector and no reference to perhaps modernising our sector. And for a long time, the NALC has been proposing that we do adopt in the sector more online meetings in certain circumstances, which would benefit especially councils with covering a wide geographical area, which would make our councils and the business more accessible to those who do have difficulty travelling to council chamber. And also the chief executive expressed disappointment there were no proposals to strengthen the current standards regime. Councils have no real powers to sanction those who fail to, or their behaviour fails to meet the standards specified in codes of conduct. So, and just more generally, there is concern that some of the larger mayoral authorities are getting funds from central government to the detriment or of more rural counties and more rural organisations that aren't part of a mayoral authority. So generally now would like to see the government given more attention to our sector of local government. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. I think there's 3 great points that raised there by the in terms of, yes, we have modern video conferencing, which should reduce the cost of council meetings. Yeah, we've been a neglected sector, and standards I think need tightening up definitely. That's a good point. So I think, thank you for that, bring that to our attention. Councillor Robinson.
Chair, just as a member of the RBL of Chippenham, just to say that with our Armed Forces Day coming up on the 27th, just to say there are badges downstairs if anybody wishes to purchase any for Armed Forces Day, and basically hopefully you can support us on our county parade on the 19th of July. That would be great.
Thanks for that, Councillor. And I look forward to welcoming many of the councillors here on the Armed Forces Day next weekend. Anything else on that item? No. Moving on to item 3. Oh, sorry, Councillor Finlay.
It's all right. It was just to say that unfortunately I've not been able to attend the Chippenham Community Area Parish Forum because they decided to have their meeting tonight.
I appreciate that, Councillor. Having sat in your position on that board, it's very often the same day as this meeting, so it's very difficult. Okay, moving on to item 3, to receive feedback from councillors on significant work they're involved in. So Wiltshire councillors. No, okay. Moving on to item 4, to receive any updates on team membership changes from Democratic Services. Heather.
There are none, Chair.
Thank you. Item 5, to receive any potential community infrastructure levy projects funded by 75% of the sale that Wiltshire Council retained from development within Chippenham to be forwarded to Wiltshire Council by the Chief Executive. Do we have ideas from councillors on this item? Looking at the table. Yes, Councillor Baisley.
Adopt a phone box.
It wouldn't cost them much, just a pound.
75 pence of the pound from them in the
Yeah, I'll chip in 20p. How's that? I would say I was just talking to some young people outside before I came into this meeting. They made. I said just to them, what would they like? They said they want to see some football nets in Monkton Park because they don't want to be kicking the ball on the street and they don't want to be playing football on a hard concrete surface. So that's something we can do, but just chuck it into the. That's the one. So in instant action, they'd also like an exercise area. And they suggested taking a knife bin, collecting knife crime and melting them down into exercise bikes, which I thought was a great idea. Right, no more on that item. Moving on to item 15, to consider any items for communications to residents. Do you have any items for communications to this meeting to residents? Nope. And to consider any actions or questions to refer to the Youth Council. Yes, Councillor Olof.
Maybe if we tell them about the kiosk we've decided to adopt, they can come up with an idea of what to use it for.
We didn't adopt it. Sorry, Councillor. Yes,
So
Councillor Scott.
on that related note, but with accuracy to the events that happened, I'd like to know from Youth Council in future occasions where we were offered this same opportunity, which I suspect we will. There's one opposite NatWest right now, or was NatWest, what they would like to see done with these so that we have a more proactive plan that we can put into play next time round.
Certainly. So communicate our decision to the Youth Council and ask what they would have done and what they would have done with the phone box. I think would be a good thing to communicate to them. Okay. Happy with that, Councillor Scott? Yep. Anything else? No. Right. So item 16, date of next meeting. The next meeting, the full council will be held on the 7th at 7 p.m. Sorry, at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, the 23rd of September, 2026. And I declare this meeting closed. Thank you, everyone.